Hi, everybody. We'll just go ahead and restart. I'm happy to bring Lou Redmond here today. He's going to show you how to attract clients with guided meditations, and he's had a lot of success as a meditation teacher and transformational coach through Insight Timer. And he's going to show you how to grow beyond certain platforms. And today's webinar is going to be about an hour. And it's also going to include a demo where he's going to help somebody with their profile. And he has had over 2 million of his meditations streamed and has shared his online courses with over 75,000 students. So I welcome Lou Redmond. And Lou, hello, welcome.
Sarah, thanks so much to be here. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad to be back with this amazing community. And I'm assuming I'll make the assumption that everyone here knows what Insight Timer is. If you don't, for any reason, please raise your hand just so we can make a definition of what we're talking about when we talk about it. But I'm assuming most of you know. I'm going to say that this is have some place where you're taking notes or you can kind of take this information. I'm going to have the PDF available for you all afterwards. So if there's like questions that are on the slides, don't feel like you need to take everything. But there's going to be a lot of information. So it's the essence
Mhm.
of a webinar versus a workshop where there's might be less time to do these exercises. So just let it wash over you and see if we can get the best strokes or paint strokes out of it. I don't know what I'm talking about with that. All right, let's get into it.
I think they've got the gist of it.
They got the
Well,
gist
would
of
you
it.
like to
Okay.
start with a few breaths together, and then I'll go ahead and let Lou sort of start his presentation.
Yeah,
How
let's
does
do
that
it.
sound? Okay.
Let's do it.
We love to take these heart breaths. So wherever you are, if you've been going about your day today, I invite you to settle into your whole body. Take a nice deep breath in through your feet, all the way up into your heart. And exhale, release it back down into the earth and just allow yourself to feel grounded, connected to the earth beneath you. And we'll take a breath of peace into the back of our heart and exhale calm to the front of the heart. Just one more like that. Breathing in peace and exhaling out deep calm. Thank you and have a wonderful, blessed webinar experience. I'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, Sarah. And I invite anyone, if you're able to, if you're just on a computer, to put your video on. If you're cooking dinner or doing other things, totally get that. But if you're able to, it's always nice to see some people that I'm talking to with this. But what I'm here to do today is I really want to help you, show you how guided meditation is a powerful long form medium. So when we talk about long form mediums, let's first describe what a short form medium is. So anything that's under 90 seconds, something like a TikTok reel, Instagram reel. And while in short form content, you can go viral and grow your audience faster, there's studies shown that as far as people purchasing and wanting to go deeper into your content, it's from depth. And it's often from long form content. So long form content may be a article that you write. It might be a podcast that you create. It might be a YouTube video, so a book, something that's creating depth and time. And what's amazing for us as meditation teachers and coaches is meditation is that meditation is a way that we can really go deep and have have us spend a lot of time in people's ears. And psychologically, the more time someone spends, the more invested they are to purchase from them or go deeper. And that's what we're talking about with attracting clients to our work. Now, this is done in a manipulative way. If you've ever bought a car and you might have had an experience where took you an hour to give you the price. It's not because they don't know the price. It's because psychologically they know the more time you spend, the more likely you're going to buy from them. And so we don't want to do anything that's manipulative, but we have a really cool opportunity to develop through meditation the know, like, and trust factor. So meditation helps us build trust with potential clients. It is such an intimate thing that people are literally giving us their consciousness, their awareness. And it is a sacred responsibility that we have. Like it's their most precious resource to say, hey, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to listen to what you have to share. And whatever you say, I'm going to follow that. Like that's a really sacred responsibility that we have. And when we can do that with care, with intention, with love, it really creates a deep connection and builds a whole lot of trust. So this is something you probably are already doing, especially if you've taken Sarah's training. Meditation also, and this is a workshop on or a webinar on helping you trying to find your voice in it. Because what's going to make you different from every other person that's saying, hey, welcome, close your eyes, take a breath. Really what meditation can help us do is really showcase our unique voice, our approach, our point of view, our beliefs, our opinions, allowing us to make a connection and show where we're coming from, highlight the type of coaching that we do, use examples from sessions or clients that we work with on. And so this is kind of developing the know factor. They're getting to know you, they're getting to trust you, they're getting to know you, and then they're getting to like you. They're getting to like you because your meditations are actually creating a shift, a transformation. Something in their life is changing from showing up and taking your meditations. And so I don't know what type of programs or coaching everyone here does, but imagine someone showing up on a discovery call and the first thing they say to you is, I feel like I already know you. I've already been taking your meditations and you've already helped me so much. That is a much different place than starting a discovery call. Like, hey, yeah, I heard about you. What do you do? Do you think you can help me? And so it's just a powerful tool to invite people into our work. And what I'm wanting to share with you today is that meditation can help us be the pillar of our content flywheel that turns our teaching into something that's scalable, something that works for us while we sleep, both in the sense of when we're putting our meditations on apps, people are listening to them at all times a day, at all in the world, when it's on YouTube, any of these platforms. And it's also something that, yes, with Insight Timer or with Aura, you can actually make money on people listening to your meditations. It does take scale, and we'll talk about relevant how much money you can start making, but it is something that is working for you. It is marketing for you. I know we don't think of meditation as marketing, but it's what it's doing. So, what I hope you'll take away today is first and foremost, just the inspiration to create more authentic meditations that are in your voice, in your style. I want to help you develop more clarity around your content and understand topics that you're passionate about because that's going to attract your dream clients to you. And then I'm going to give you a content strategy and framework that helps you create really good meditations or other pieces of content. And then I'm going to do a little live coaching audit on someone's Insight Timer profile. And at the end, I'm going to share an invitation to work with me and to see if it resonates to help you in your meditation teaching journey. And what I hope this does is help you increase your reach, enhance your current client value that you already have, creating meditations for your clients, and also develop a content creation system. So how do you make this easy? How do you not make this feel like it's overwhelming where you know exactly what you need to do each week and it kind of builds off of each other. So we'll explain what that means in a little bit. Quick background of my story for those that don't know. I started my career in the golf industry. This picture makes me look like much better and stronger of a golfer than I actually am. It's why I worked, not that good at golf, it's why I worked at a company. And I was doing okay. Like I would go to work, I would come home and kind of zone out. I wasn't into any sort of personal development. And really what I was focused on in my life was when's the weekend? When's the party? And so I spent my weekends, this was in San Diego. It's a really great place if you want to drink from Friday to the end of day Sunday. And that was really my lifestyle. I was working and just partying a lot on the weekends. And I was hitting a low point with that lifestyle. And somehow, by the grace of the Almighty, I found myself after a significant low point. I got connected to this group of young entrepreneurs, and it was a mastermind group. And that group just opened up my mind to a whole new world. It opened my mind to personal development. It opened up my mind to what is possible with creating the things that we want to create in the world. And this was my introduction to meditation and I wouldn't have called it spiritual development at the time, but it was what I was doing at the time. And so I share this because so much entrepreneurial mastermind. So I have such a deep passion for how do we make this work as a business? That I have, how do we bring what we love to the world? And how do we make that actually the thing that we do without stressing out over whether we're going to be able to pay the bills? And so from this, because I started meditating, I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't looking for anything spiritual, but I would like to say the spiritual found me. So I was on a hike by myself in Joshua Tree in 2015. And through meditation, I had this pretty profound awakening experience that led me to quit drinking and led me to having more of these experiences over the next few days that led me to quit that job that I mentioned, and just leap into the unknown with the intention of doing something that I was more aligned with. I didn't know it was meditation at the time. I just felt this calling and I felt this need to do it right then. I'd recommend no one to do this with their job unless you're like, "Oh my gosh, I know that this is the right thing for me." But what I learned in taking such a leap is how supported we are by unseen forces when we follow what is ours to follow, when we follow our calling and take those bold leaps of faith in the world. From there, people were like, "Lou, what happened to you? Like, what?" And I was like, meditation. Like, you guys got to try this. This is crazy. I had this amazing experiences. Like, you got to. So I just became this evangelist for meditation, and people were asking me if I could just lead them through meditation. So what I was doing, I was just gathering with friends and I would guide them through what I was guiding. And that's really how I got my start. And then a year later, I started hosting workshops where people would come do donation-based workshops and people kept showing up every week. And this is how I got my training of just developing, holding space, sharing meditation, seeing what works, getting feedback from other people. And that just started to grow from there. A couple of years later, I started teaching yoga and I started bringing in mindfulness in school. So I had a business that then went into schools, taught yoga and mindfulness to kids, did assemblies, trained teachers on how to bring it to the classroom. And that started to take off. And it was still a struggle. I was just maybe barely starting to make quote unquote a living. And I was also teaching in a really nice meditation studio at the time. And so I was starting to develop some practices, but things really shifted in 2019 when Insight Timer, who I had started to upload meditations a few years earlier, but not very consistent. End of 2018, I got a little bit more consistent. But Insight Timer, there was no way to make money until 2019, where they announced their courses and their premium model. And after in 2019, it was a big shift. Like that was the first year where I was like, okay, I'm really making this work. And it was a big part due to Insight Timer and being able to start developing courses on there. And then what that led into was in 2020, I hadn't started any kind of one-on-one coaching, but I had a mentor at the time, David Gandelman. Some of you maybe have heard of him. He's pretty popular on Insight Timer. And he was like, "Lou, why aren't you doing any kind of one-on-one work?" And once I opened that door, because I had built an email list, and once the pandemic hit, my school stuff slowed down. Some of it went online, a lot of it left. And then it was really just people were seeking for support and meditations, and that really opened the door. And as I kept developing more courses on Insight Timer, so many times it's people taking my courses and then saying, "Okay, I want to work with you to go deeper," that things started to shift. And then hold on, back uh, in the next few years, things really started to grow. So in that time, I grew my followers on Insight Timer and Aura to over 60,000 followers. I have 75,000 students in my courses. I've earned over $200,000 on Insight Timer. In the last few years, 4 years, I've had over $600,000 in my business. And I would say 95% of my clients have originated from people that engage with some form of meditation, whether it's on Insight Timer or YouTube. So I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight, but over time, I think it really can build your business and be a fun way for you to create and develop your practice. This was just a fun highlight, going live and sharing the home screen with people that I love, like Elizabeth Gilbert and the Dalai Lama. And yeah, that's just a little background, little stretch, little stretch. We're gonna, if it calls to you, any kind of movement, any kind of breath. Still trying to figure out the most succinct way for you guys to understand, who is this guy? Where is he coming from? All right. So what I really want to help you do today is to help you build your content flywheel and create meditations that attract clients. The first step is understanding what are the topics, the themes that you talk about. So raise your hand if you've done some sort of practice or you've done some sort of exercise where you've understood or defined any content pillars. Okay, cool. So it seems like this is mostly new for people. So your content pillars are your core areas of transformation that your body of work centers around. So an image to think about is imagine your content or your work, I should say, as a garden. And your content pillars are the garden beds that are in the garden. So they all share the same soil. It all feels like you. If you're 100 feet away, it just looks like a garden. But if you go closer, you notice that each bed, some has vegetables, some has flowers. There's a distinct difference, but they're also connected in some way. So this is a way to visualize your content pillars. It's different than niche. So often if you get into any kind of business coaching, probably have like, oh, define your niche. Who do you help? How do you help them get really specific? And I find this is almost, for many people, a funner exercise. It puts the pressure over getting specific over one person. And it helps you connect with the things that you're most excited about creating. And often I find for me, in my experience, the things that I'm most excited about, those are often attracting the people that I'm also, those are my dream clients to work with because they're excited about the same things too. So it's a different way to explore niche. Not to say that those niche exercises aren't valuable. So the one way to explore what your content pillars are through the three E's. So experience, expertise, enthusiasm. And you may have already explored the first part of experience is to think of one, just your story. And you've probably are sharing meditation because of what it did for you, what you've transformed or overcome. If you've gone through some sort of, and so thinking of this, just you can do it in meditation, but anything that you transformed or overcome. If you've gone through a cancer diagnosis and healed that process, you have a unique perspective and connecting point that another person doesn't have, that you have a gift in some ways to offer. So going into like what are the wounds that you've healed in your life is always a great place to start finding your content pillars. Another way to ask this question is what used to trigger you that now doesn't? Did you used to get really jealous around certain people or angry at certain people and you notice that it's not there anymore? Well, what was it that you did? How did that shift? And then this is a fun one to think about. What peak or interesting life experiences have you had? So some of you know, I mentioned Liz Gilbert a couple slides ago. Liz is famous for writing, at least in nonfiction, her one book, Eat, Pray, Love, which became a movie, and Big Magic. And if you watch that movie and you understand Liz, based on that really crazy life experience she had and what she writes about, for me, it's clear that one of Liz's content pillars would be something in the theme of boldly following your heart, boldly following your heart and creativity wherever it leads. Like I think that's something that comes through in a lot of her when she talks more as like as a personal growth, a thought leader, I should say. So next is your expertise. So you can lean on the expertise that you have, the trainings that you've taken. If you're a therapist, asking yourself, what do I see over and over in the people that you work with? Maybe you don't have anxiety, but you see people with anxiety and you've learned patterns, ways of working with it. And so just asking yourself, yeah, what do you see in the clients that you work with? And then asking, how can you use your previous jobs or profession in a meditation context? I believe that everything that we've done before this, in some ways, that we can learn from it and there was no mistakes. Like I really believe that we can connect the dots going backwards. And so just asking yourself, how can you use your previous jobs or professions? Now, this is maybe more of a positioning question than a content pillar question. But an example is like if you were a marketing director at a company and then you found meditation and it changed your life and you decided you want to share and your next business, your next career is meditation. Now, you can take that experience and say as your for your teaching, it's like, well, what I did in my company as a marketing manager is I helped our company share their values with the world and share their message. And now as a meditation teacher and as a background as a marketing manager, I actually help my clients do that too. Through meditation, I help you find your voice. So just an example of like how you can position what you used to do in a context that you're doing right now. And then a great question that I love, I think it's always helpful for us to ask always to reconnect to one, what we love doing, but also what we love doing in a certain context. You might have already asked yourself of like, okay, what comes easy to you that others struggle with? And sometimes this is hard because we don't realize that others actually struggle with this. And in my example with this is I taught yoga for 3 years, and it took me like 5 hours every time I would have to create a yoga sequence, and I would spend hours rehearsing it, and it was just always a struggle. I did pretty good at it, but it was always hard. It was never, I never really loved the body and understanding the body and how it moves. And I would see people that really love that. And I was like, those people really love doing this more than I do. However, when I would prepare for a meditation class, I would spend an hour, and in that hour, I would enter a flow state, and I would have an awesome meditation that came out. It would be so fun for me. And I would spend about 20 minutes before entering the class, maybe going over it. And it was easy. It was just an easeful experience. And, one of my content pillars I could say now is helping people with their creative guided meditations. It's because it really just comes really easy for me. So asking yourself, what comes easy to you that others struggle with? And then lastly, for your three E's, is enthusiasm. It's kind of cliche, but it's worth repeating. The line of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And often it's that caring that matters more than the expert. Like if you're just super passionate about a topic, that energy is infectious. People want to learn from you. And you don't have to be in some ways because some people always kind of have some imposter syndrome and say, "Oh, who am I to teach this?" There's people that are much more credentialed, much more experienced than me. That's true. There are. But for some people, you are their introduction. Even if you were only doing something for 6 months and you were super passionate about it, to someone who's never done anything like what you're passionate about, you can be their introduction. And you might not take them to the promised land, but you might get them started on their path. And in some ways, you can relate to them more than the expert of 20 years. I think of my friend Charles Freely, who's one of the most successful, probably highest earning teacher on Insight Timer right now. And he's really passionate about Eastern philosophy. And he has a course on the Tao Te Ching. He has a course on Zen. And I'm willing to bet he has a 111-day course on Zen. For people probably are resonating more with Charles being the introduction to Zen than if a Zen master Roshi had an 111-day course on Zen. That would probably be a higher intermediate sort of person to be attracted to that. So understanding that, I really believe that, and you've probably experienced this with other teachers, that you might find a teacher and they might have been the perfect teacher for you for a little while, and then you kind of outgrow them. and you realize, oh, you know what? I wouldn't do some things that I learned from them now, but at the time, that was exactly who I needed. So you don't have to be for everyone. We're not for everyone. And so just trusting and like honoring your enthusiasm, teaching who you can, and trusting that everyone's going to find and has their own path to walk. Another way to just to think about this is because I had a client recently who this is what came up, and I was helping her with defining her content pillars, and she was having a really tough time, and then she realized of like, oh, I actually always teach my nephews who are they're 5 years old. I always say this, and I told her that's amazing because there's a lot of adults psychologically stunted from 5, 6 years old. So what we tell kids, what we can explain to kids is actually like a really probably good message that we could bring into what we share in our meditations. And then any passions that are outside of meditation. Like I'm a big runner, so I try to bring in running sometimes when it's relevant, metaphors. So again, people are getting to know you beyond just unless you want to be the persona of just I'm this calm meditation teacher. But I think more than ever now with AI continuing to come into this space at a rapid rate, I think your humanness, anytime that you can show your humanness, you're going to show a deeper connection. So, some more questions to ask yourself. What do you want to be known for? So this is kind of a good niching question too. Like if you were just known for one thing, like Sura's, I would claim that maybe she would agree with this, but now I know Sura. I think of Sura, I think of meditation coaching. Like she wants to be known as putting meditation coaching on the map. And so what's that for you? If someone only just had one idea when your name came in, what idea do you want them to have? And then, sometimes that could be egoic. Like what do I want to be known for? I want to be known for da, da, da. But I think a different frame with this question is what wants to be known through me? And what I've learned from this question is sometimes we actually might not want to be known for that thing. Like I kind of have this with this work I'm doing right now with you all. Like I feel this pull to lean into the business side, and there's this part it's like, do I really want to be the business insight timer guy? Like is that really what I want to be? But it feels like it what wants to come through me. So it's kind of like honoring that here's a way that I can serve. And then I love this question. It's an old school Tim Ferriss podcast question. If you had a billboard that reached billions of people, what would it say? And I'm willing to bet that message says something about your core, just your core heart that you're here, your core gifts that you're here to offer. So again, I know that this is a lot of things to think about and question. I will give you these slides, so don't feel like you had to like put every question down. But it's a good exercise is to start thinking about these things. And as you write all these down, what you'll find is where do I have experience, expertise, and enthusiasm? Because your best content is going to be the intersection of all three of these. That's going to be the most potent places because you're going to have the most stories. So here's an example of my content pillars. And they could be really broad. Like this is where, again, we don't have to get super niche. Confidence, purpose, motivation, creativity. And I'll give an example how I work with this. And then, for you, you might have confidence too, but confidence for you might mean something different. Like for me, it means these things. For you, it might mean something else. So even if two people have the similar content pillars, thinking about actually what that means for you. And what I want to doing this exercise and what I really want to encourage you is around the courses and developing courses because all those content pillars you just saw, you can see for mostly, it's not going to work on the sleep course here, but how developing unshakable confidence, 5 principles to build confidence, 21 days of motivation, learn to do work you love. These are all aligned to the content pillars. So when you develop your content pillars, ask yourself, oh, there's something that I can really develop here into a wider body of work and course. And courses, they help you make revenue through Insight Timer. It's the number one way that you're going to make revenue through Insight Timer. Or you can also sell them on your own or on different platforms. You still own the rights, so you have every right to put it on Insight Timer, and you can sell it. You can sell it on your own too for even higher. Their Insight Timer is okay with that. And what I love about courses is they can be the backbone that set up your workshops or live programs. And for those that want to become speakers or speak, they can develop they can develop your keynote talks and then position you as an expert to be a guest on podcasts or other speaking opportunities. What Insight Timer lacks in currency, it makes up in credibility. And what I mean by that is if you were to create a course and then sell it on your own, let's say 100 people took that course and you sold the course for $100, you would make $10,000. Not bad. If you put that same course on Insight Timer, if you get 100 people enrolled in that course and they all finish the course, they take every day of the course, you would make $150. So $10,000, $150. Big difference of price, but Insight Timer has the benefit of scale and understanding that you could also reach 10,000 people much easier on Insight Timer than you can probably sell a course to, unless you figure out ads or something. Like you'll dial in some big complex sort of funnel and ad system to do that. But if even one of those people, that 100 people in your course, and you have one person that goes a little deeper and that signs up for your coaching, it's worth more than just that. And what I'm saying here that it's worth more in credibility is that Insight Timer, a lot of people don't know what Insight Timer is, and that could be a good or a bad thing. But imagine you have a course that's on, let's say, find easing just let's say anxiety, like radically transform your anxiety. And you are reaching out to companies and your pitch is, hey, my name's whoever, and I am a teacher on the world's most popular meditation app, Insight Timer. It has over 20 million users, and I have my flagship course on here, Release Anxiety in 10 days. It has 100 students in it with 4.8 rating, and I'd love to present the themes from this course to your company and do a workshop where I've developed and we go deeper. Or I'd love to be a guest on your podcast and talk about the key elements to this course to help your audience. So it positions you, it gives you a certain credibility that then you can build off of for speaking opportunities or guest opportunities. Does anyone have one content pillar that they think is theirs from any of these questions, or just something that you know? I'd love for you to just put it in the chat. Let's see. Vibe coding, a content pillar. Okay, cool. That's really cool. That's different. So I'm assuming it's like meditations for vibe coding. Chakras, great content pillar. Energy. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear like what energy would mean to you too, sir. Body's wisdom, yin yoga. Awesome. All right. So I mentioned I've been working with some people on this, and I just want to share Ale's experience of working together on with me on this on Insight Timer work and coursework. Lou's helped me trust my inner wisdom to share with my audience on Insight Timer. I'm much more consistent when showing up on live events, creating content more often, not focused on perfection or doing it right. A big breakthrough I had when working with Lou is that I'm more adventurous, taking more risk when leading meditation. Recently had a call with one of my clients. I found myself trusting completely what my intuition was telling me instead of following a script. And that made the meditation way more impactful for him and for me. I'm not only enjoying the journey more, but I'm having way more fun. And that's what I want for you is to have fun. Talk about vibe coding, vibe creating meditations. Like the fact that we always think that we're gonna arrive somewhere. Like, okay, once I have that, once I figure out my business there, then I will feel XYZ. And what I want to propose is that this work is really for its own sake. That intrinsically creating and sharing in this way is super fun, super rewarding. And so my goal is to make meditation even more fun than it is. All right, little stretch, little stretch. I think we're doing okay, somewhat okay on time. Okay, so you have your content pillars. Now, how do you make great content? So this is content and client attraction formula. This is going to look like a lot. We're going to go through this slowly. So we start with our topic. So I'm going to use an example from my content pillars. Confidence, I'm going to use a topic of jealousy. So you pick your topic and then you share a story that you can get from your experience, your expertise, and enthusiasm. And so the story that I'll use for jealousy is something like I noticed myself the other day, I was scrolling on Instagram, and then there's this person that was doing something, being more successful, whatever it might be. And I felt this ping of jealousy. And it just was like all over my body. And it and boom, that's really the story. So the story is I experienced jealousy in some way. And then what you're doing from the story is you want to tell the story just enough to start getting and extracting the lessons that you're taking and the counterintuitive wisdom that you're providing to the person that's listening. And so, for example, if I told that story, I would say, I noticed jealousy. And instead of resisting it like I normally would, in that moment, I actually decided to celebrate it. I chose to celebrate it because my intention with my life is to be free, is to not have outer circumstances dictate how I feel. And here was an opportunity of outer circumstances dictating how I feel. Here was showing me where I wasn't free. And so I celebrated and said, oh my gosh, yes, here's an opportunity for me to be free. And so that could be the story. That could be like the one takeaway. But then thinking of like how you can stack lessons. And so if I were to stack a lesson there, I would tell that story, and then I would share about feeling. Um, I'm losing track of the story. Feeling triggered, celebrating it, and said, "Okay, well, if I want to be free, how how do I be free here? Well, what is jealousy? Jealousy is a feeling that's if someone else gains, I'm losing something. And so I asked myself, what do I feel like I'm losing? And as I sat with that question, I realized I'm feeling like if this person is succeeding, I'm losing attention. And for me as a kid, the number one thing I wanted was attention because attention for me was love. And so there was a core need that I felt like I was losing. And so I would pause there on the story if this was a meditation. And then what you want to do is start reflecting it and making it about the person that's listening. So you tell your story, you extract the lesson from the story, and then you restate the lesson so it applies to everyone. And so you might say, like, okay, like notice in your life, is there anywhere in your life where you've experienced jealousy? And what I want to invite you to do is number one, to not resist it, that it's okay, to maybe even celebrate it, that it's showing you where you can be free. And then the invitation to go deeper is to see and ask yourself, what do you think that you're going to lose? And I bet you're going to find a core need. And the work is about fulfilling that need on our own. Okay, so that's the whole setup to the meditation. And then the next step is to solve their problem in some way. So you kind of identified an issue. You have the topic, you've identified an issue, you've told the story, you've related it to their life, and now it's like, okay, if for our case, the meditation is how we help someone. You can that would be the first couple minutes of a meditation, and then you just say, okay, now we're going to get into a meditation where we're going to work through this energy. We're going to help you identify that core need and then give yourself that thing that you feel like you're going to lose. And so then you would guide them in the meditation. Now, this formula I just shared with you, it's great for a meditation. It's also great for any piece of content, whether you have a video, a reel, an article. Because what you can do is if you're writing an article, your how-to steps could just be like you just share like a journal prompts, or you tell them, okay, do this thing, do this, just through writing if it's not a meditation, or you link to your meditation or a meditation that could help. This formula is also for those that have struggle with selling their work, struggle with selling their offers, or doing some sort of promotion for your coaching or for your programs. This structure is such a good framework for selling your offer, because I think of the story that I just said. The next thing I could say is, if I wrote an email about it, if this resonates with you, if you struggle with jealousy, in the next 6 weeks, I'm starting my release jealousy 6 week program. It's $500. I'd love to have you be a part of it, where we're going to work through this together. I always think when I'm selling something, I don't always get this right, but when I'm sending an email selling something, I'm always asking, how is this valuable to someone that's reading that's never going to buy my stuff? How is opening this valuable just because it's having them think about it? And they might be like, oh, I can work on that on my own. So it's a great framework for developing copywriting. And then if it is a meditation, at the end of meditations, I'm always asking, how can they integrate this into their day? Because not only are they meditating with me for the 20 minutes, but if I can give them a prompt and they actually do it in their day, now there's more impact that we're creating. And so an integrating exercise that I might do for this is something like, okay, all right, leave a, if I'm, let's say if this is an insight timer, I always tell people like, all right, leave a comment, let me know how that landed. And I invite you today this is a challenge for you, is to take 5 minutes. And if it was Instagram that you were jealous at, or maybe it's not Instagram, but I'm gonna use that example. Like, go on Instagram and I want you to scroll for 5 minutes until you get jealous, and see if you can do this practice in real time. So thinking of how can you have people integrate or create an action step in their day. So again, I know that was a lot. These slides will be sent to you. You're welcome to take a screenshot from it, but I hope that gives you a clear framework that you can plug and play for your meditations, or again, this works for any piece of content that you would want to create. So content pillars, our third step, then become our pillar content, where we take one idea and we turn it into multiple mediums. So this is what it looks like. So you take your top, I really want to encourage you, like if you can just focus on one idea a week, it makes creating so much easier. I have 10 ideas this week and I need to do this post and that post. It's like, no, I'm just going to focus on telling one story, sharing one meditation a week. So for example, if we use that example that I just shared, releasing jealousy. Let's say that is my core meditation of the week. So I record a guided meditation with the exact story and meditation that we just talked about, and I put it on Insight Timer and Aura. And then I take the same story and I write about it, and that becomes my newsletter. And on the newsletter, I might link to the meditation that I created, or maybe I'll give an how-to steps for people that aren't going to do the actual meditation. So now I have a newsletter out for the week. And then I take my newsletter and I go to Canva and I chop it up and I make it an Instagram carousel. And so now the same exact content, the same exact work is now, I have an Instagram post for the week around this topic. And then I'll take my MP3 and I find a little moving video, and now I have a YouTube meditation for the week. Or I feel like just getting on video and doing this live, or doing this for YouTube, just recording it, and I tell the story and I'll do a meditation and I'll just do it again. But again, I've already done the work. I've done the work. It's one pillar piece of content. I'm just reusing the content in all these other places. And then any other platforms you have, podcasts, Substack, you see how it's just one idea. And then you're getting the most out of that one piece of content. There's an example of how this worked for me and how it brought clients to me. As I shared a newsletter called Three Life-Changing Questions to Ask Yourself. And it talked about powerful coaching questions that I might use in a session. So it's highlighting my work, my approach in that way. From that newsletter, I recorded a talk and I just pretty much just read the newsletter on this microphone, uploaded it to Insight Timer. Someone listened to it on Insight Timer, booked a discovery call, loved what it was about, became a client. That person has been a client for like 3 years in different capacities. So it's continued to be amazing to work with someone for that long. And then I took that talk and I said, what's great about Insight Timer is it allows you to test ideas and you can find things that are sticky. Oh, people like these questions. We don't often know. We might really like things and some people, they don't like it. Or we might put something out there and we're like, I didn't think that was that good, but people love it. It's like we're comedians in some ways and we're trying out bits of content. And then our courses are the best bits of content that we have. And that's our hour long comedy special for those that are fans of stand-up comedy. And so what I did was I took each question of these three life-changing questions and they became 3 days of a 21-day course that was around happiness and fulfillment. So always thinking of like you can be reusing content in your courses. Your tracks that you're posting inside Timer, they're like just getting experiments. Let's see what people like, let's see what works, and let's take the best stuff and make it into our course, which then goes into making, sharing it in other capacities in our programs and whatnot. So recap our steps, define your content pillars, pick one theme a week, use the content formula, translate one idea into multiple platforms, consistently create great meditations and content that grow your impact in business. Know that it was a lot. Okay, let's do a little live coaching volunteer for someone would like to get some feedback on their Insight Timer profile. Anyone brave enough to raise their hand? And if you are, please send me a link to in the chat so we can check it out. Kim, great. And so I do in my coaching with people, I do like a 13-point checklist that I'd go through. I'm just going to do like three just for time's sake on this call because it would take a long time. Okay, so Kim raised her hand, but Trey put his link in first. So now I'm like torn on who to do. All right, Trey's calling to Kim. So I'm going to go with the hand because that's who I saw. All right, let me know if you all see this. Can you see Kim's profile? Great. All right. Kim, nice, 1.5K followers. So that shows that how long have you been on Insight Timer? 3 years. Okay, cool. All right. So this looks like, I'm looking at profile picture, um, bio, and then just connecting to like the themes of your meditations that align. So this looks like a headshot professional photo, right? Or is it a you almost fooled me. I'm like, it's right on the edge of professionals. Like, is it an iPhone or is it professional? So I think just for anyone in here, because this is ideally your business, I would take time to invest in some kind of photographer and get some photos done. And just one way that you can build connection and just look professional on and not an iPhone picture. But Kim, you did a really good job being on the edge of like, oh, I think this is actually a really good picture. So you might not need to, but that's what I recommend for people. So let's just check out your bio here. This is personal meditation practice with courage, self-compassion, playfulness, gratitude. Okay, so my recommendation for Insight Timer bios is it's not a place necessarily to your intention for people to you can't send people off the app, but obviously you'd like people to go check out the other stuff, sign up for your newsletter, do all the stuff with you. And so I would save the story. Like you can do a little bit of your story. I'm not saying I think a little bit of a story is okay, but save most of your story for your about page of your website and for like just you talking in your meditations. Like they might already know some of your background if you're sharing it in your meditations. What I what I encourage people and not to do in their bio is talk about the types of meditations they create because think about it people are already taking your meditations. So they're taking your meditations and they go to your bio and says, they take your meditation on loving kindness. They go to your bio and say, I create meditations on loving kindness. And they're like, oh yeah, I already know that. Like they've been taking a meditation. So you want to highlight why would they want to go deeper with you? What is the type of deeper work that you do that's not on Insight Timer, right? They're knowing your meditation. So highlighting the work you're doing off of Insight Timer, which you're kind of doing like oracle card readings, um, but like not like some people just talk about, oh, my meditations do this, like meditations weave together mindfulness, energy awareness, soulful reflection. Like I would shift to what your work is. Maybe I'll talk more. Maybe I would highlight the oracle card readings more because I was like, oh, I can't do that on Insight Timer. I might want to go deeper to understand what that is for you. And then what was it? The no talk about meditations and then personal meditation practice with courage. Yeah, I don't know if you need to talk about start with your personal meditation practice. Again, thinking about what would be helpful for people, what would really highlight how I can help people. And leave the connection to them taking the meditations. Leave you talking about your personal meditation practice in your meditations, if that makes sense. Or save it for the about page of your website. And then lastly, let's see. Golden Sun, affirmations, winter season Reiki. I kind of like the rainbowish vibe you got on a couple of things. So looking good. Looks like you got some good quality on here. A lot of really good ratings. So yay. Summer season Reiki. Sunset. Yeah, I think your titles are actually pretty decent. Titles are decent. Kind of align. I think as you get more clear with the bio, I would want to think about, okay, well, how do we, after the content pillars, how do we create more content that shows, proves what you do in your bio, proves the benefit of working with you? That would be just a question I would ask myself. And then thinking of your courses. I've been on Insight Timer for 3 years and I don't see a course out there. Come on, Kim. Yeah, so thinking about what that first course is for sure for everyone in here is what I want to encourage you to do more and more. So there's more that I could do, but Kim, I hope that's helpful to just give a little insight, and I hope it's beneficial for everyone in thinking of how they can do their Insight Timer profile. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. Sorry. Okay, we're back. Okay, there we go. So my biggest recommendation for you is to take one of your content pillars, create a flagship meditation course that you post on Insight Timer, and it aligns with your program, your coaching offers, and you can turn it with some energy into potentially getting speaking gigs, getting booked at companies, or turning into a podcast speaking tour. I'd love for you to do that. Yeah, I wanted to give as much value for you guys to go off, and if you're motivated to do it, great. If you're like, man, Lou, I could use some support on doing this right now, I'd love to invite you, if it calls to you, to work with me in my Insight Timer Growth Accelerator. It's a one-on-one coaching program designed to help you refine your meditation voice, increase your reach on Insight Timer, and transform your courses into client attracting assets that support your larger body of work. It includes 4 60-minute sessions with me where we'll go through some of the stuff that we did today, create a vision, a plan for you for growth, understanding how your email list and funnel flows, and move through whatever fears or doubts that often get in the way. I'm going to give you feedback on 3 meditations or talks. This has been so powerful for people. If you're on Insight Timer, you might get like, oh, I love this meditation. And you might get someone who it's just not for them and they say something negative. You often don't get beneficial critique, right? Positive critique that's actually like in depth of, oh, hey, you could have done this a little bit, or this kind of took me away. So I do that for 3 of your meditations. You'll get enrollment in my meditation course, Creator Academy, which is a course on helping you envision and create meditation courses. And then a Insight Timer profile assessment. You guys got a little sneak peek of what that looks like. I record a loom and I go in depth with about kind of 12 points that I'm looking at. And then a course review and feedback. If you do get that course done, giving you obviously feedback on that, and 1 month personal coaching on WhatsApp. So you can check out more info and testimonials at my website on the page, louredmond.com/mentorship. The value of everything that I just shared, the courses, the feedback is 2,500. My regular enrollment for this, if you go to my website, is 1,500. I just finished with Nandy, who did this with me, and she said, Insight Timer Growth Accelerator was hands down the best investment I've made in my coaching business. Lou helped me find my meditation voice, embrace vulnerability, and step into my personal style with confidence. I'm going to be transparent with all of you. I have a new baby coming, my first child coming at the end of the month. And so I'm motivated for people that want to dive in for the next month is a special lose having a baby price. The only catch is that we would start next week. So there's going to be an expiration to this offer at the end of the day on Friday. So no pressure at all. Like consider it if it aligns. But if you're feeling like, whoa, Insight Timer is the most popular time on, or January is the most popular time on Insight Timer. So if you really want to get some momentum into the new year, this could be a great opportunity. And if you're like, Lou, this sounds great, I might want to do it, but holidays, the next couple months, weeks are not good to dive into this for a month. If you want to commit to this, I will honor this price, and we can begin in February, but it would still expire at the end of this week. So it's either starting next week or beginning in February, helping me kind of set up 4 to 6 weeks off with baby because we do this solo. We don't. I don't get my paternity leave, my supervisors, and yeah, giving me any support. So this is yeah special if you wanting to jump in. All right.
Lou, thank you so
And
much. That
yeah,
was
any questions? We
absolutely
we did it. We did
wonderful.
it under an hour. I can't
Oh,
believe
we
it.
did it.
I,
Yay. Okay, well, great. I'd love to open up the space for a share and Q&A with Lou. Thank you so much. That was super insightful and just
I'll
helpful all the way around. How many of you found it like really helpful to see it all there out on a presentation? I did too. Any questions for Lou? I have a question.
yes,
I have not heard of Aura. Can you talk about Aura? Walk through it
yes.
a little bit with us, maybe just showing us what is behind the scenes for you on Aura and how it's helped you.
Totally. So Aura, unfortunately, right now I think they stopped. They kind of really were let's say, competitor of Insight Timer. They kind of took the model of Insight Timer and ran with it. There's a lot of Insight Timer teachers on Aura, and so it's a similar meditation app. It doesn't have a free version. Like there's like a 7-day free trial, and it's paid. Like it's a paid version, so it doesn't. It's not like a free app like Insight Timer. But I'm willing to bet if you reach out for those that are, if you are a little bit established on Insight Timer, there's probably a pitch to be made of, hey, can I start developing content for you? I find they're much stricter on content. They reject much more pieces of content for me, and like I have a lot of my own frustration. I'm a human design manifester, so I really don't love people telling me like what to do, and they always feel like they're telling me what to do. Aura is so
Oh, okay.
I'm a big Insight Timer. I'm a big Insight Timer fan and supporter, but Aura
Okay,
is
so you would
another similar.
recommend, yeah,
Yeah.
focusing more on Insight Timer because of their model.
Totally, totally. Yeah, it's just pretty much the same model. Like I get paid. Well, you have to reach a certain amount of plays depending on the ratio that you get paid with Aura. So if you get tracks that get above a certain amount, then you'll hit the 15-cent mark. I feel like 15 cents is the premium right now as far as meditation apps and getting paid per play. But for Aura, you actually have to hit a certain amount of plays before you even qualify for that ratio.
Hmm. And what do you feel helps you the most on Insight Timer to gain that traction?
Consistency, 100%. Like
So the
consistency.
consistency of posting one new meditation per week.
One new meditation a week. If for newer teachers, often having a good streak of lives, and it not all lives or going live, like doing a live event every week, in addition to posting every week, and just starting building that, especially in the beginning. And then it's just like any app. I mean, it's hard to understand their algorithm and understand how things are going to go, like how things are going to really get traction. But I just was talking with a client yesterday who's been on Insight Timer for 2 years, He has about, I think, 1,700 followers. And we were just going through like his numbers and everything. And he said, like, yeah, like going live was really supported in the beginning. And then he had a couple meditations that kind of went quote unquote viral, right? They just had, and that really started to build. And he finds the lives are maybe not as much for him right now. And so it's consistency. And he says, he's like, he started and he's like, Lou, it might take time. Like for him, I think he's up to like 250 to $300 a month on Insight Timer, and he started from $50 a month. So it has just that consistency and that compounds. Like thinking of this, it's a classic. The best time to plant a tree 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. So yes, there are so many more
Yeah.
teachers. There are so many more teachers on Insight Timer now than in my time. I get that I have a privilege in that, and what if you gave the next 5 years and consistently like it's still a growing it's a platform that's grown without any marketing. It spends no money on marketing, yet it's the most popular meditation app in the world.
Yeah, it was just named number one on Forbes' best meditation app list. And I do highly recommend, in addition to what Lou's guided here, that every piece of content that you create to also keep that content on your own system, your own ethos, meaning your own website, your own learning management system, your own Substack, your own YouTube channel, so that you still have a copy of all that content that you're utilizing, and like offering to people. Petra?
If I may ask a question, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a first of all, thank you so much. That was really, really good. So many good information. And I have a stupid question. I always thought like we are not allowed to get contacts from Inside Timer. I'm always careful with what I'm saying when I teach my classes. How do they can contact me? And sometimes I have the feeling I miss, because once I found somebody has contacted me and it's like, wow, I can be contacted. And I have no idea how that happened.
So are you asking how do we get people to contact us off the app or on the app?
Probably both, right, Petra?
Good question. I don't know. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, you're bringing up an interesting thing that I haven't even tried, but it's still a little, I don't know. I think ethically, it still feels like I don't, not sure. But I have had people, so I've had people message me on Insight Timer and ask me directly, like, "Hey, Lou, do you work with people one on one?" And I say, "Yeah, I do. Here's the link to my coaching." Like, I'm not gonna withhold that information. They're directly asking me to a message. It makes no, I'm okay if Insight Timer was like, "Hey, Lou, what did you do here?" I'm like, they reached out and they asked for this. It just happened to be the message platform. But you can, I never tell people to message me on Insight Timer. It's an interesting thought strategy of like, hey, if you like this, shoot me a private message. Like if you want to talk about what we could go deeper, shoot me a private message on Insight Timer. It might be a way to circle around, but they're very clear on their rules. Everything I'm saying now, I'm not telling you to say, you can't say, okay, if you like this meditation, what you could say is, like you can visit my about page for more information about what it's like to work together, right? And so that's you're just your call to action is the about page. Like, hey, if you like this meditation, you want to go deeper, just check out my about page. I encourage everyone to create a circle too. Like you can still create your own circle, so it's kind of like a little community that you create in Insight Timer. It'll have information about ways to work with me and my circle. So you're not telling them to get off Insight Timer, but you're sharing. That's why the about your bio to talk about how you work with people, and then letting people just, you know, ideally we want to have a call to action, but you can't. So hopefully that was like, oh, interesting. There's their website. Okay, now I'm gonna go to their website, and hopefully maybe you have a link tree directly to your coaching, or maybe you have just, you have that set up, and that's part of like understanding that funnel flow of okay, what are people going to? Are they jumping to something where it's like, hey, this is doesn't make sense to what I just came from? So to answer, does that answer your question? Like you can't just tell people to go to your stuff. So we're doing this in the way of just sharing like your processes and really just making really good meditations in a way that they're like, I want to know more. Right? When we really are resonating with something, we take the step to go deeper with someone.
I have an idea
Thank you.
similar to what we talked about before, Lou, is that you can direct people to your courses.
Yes.
And say, if you
Yes.
want to learn
Yes.
more, go to my course,
100%.
do a talk that's about your course, send them to your course.
Yes.
You can do a guided meditation. And at the end, say, if you want more with this, I have a course, da, 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 da.
Yep. That's
So
what I
I
rec
think a course is a good way to direct people.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I recommend everyone doing for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
start making your content weave in. They take this piece. Oh, now they go to your to go to your course. That's why I encourage people starting out free tracks and courses. Forget about premium right now. Free tracks, you're going to reach 26
Mm-hmm.
times more people. Send them to your courses and highlight your courses. Okay, I saw some questions on the chat. David, what's the biggest insight I've ever received on Insight Timer? Just like like a awareness insight? Or yeah, I'm not sure I
David, you
understand.
still with us? I think he jumped off. Oh no, he is there. David, can you clarify?
Yeah, like just what's the biggest insight you've ever received from using the Insight Timer as a user?
As a user. Interesting. Um, so I don't know if I admit this. I create a lot of guided meditations. I listen to barely any guided meditations, but I do use the Insight Timer as the timer. So I've always used it as the timer. That's how I found it. I was using it as a timer in 2016. That's how I found that, wait, oh, you can sign up for this as a teacher? I have a guided meditation that I created for a friend. Oh, let's see how it does. So I mean, with that, you're kind of asking me like, what's the biggest insight I've ever received in my meditation, which is maybe like a bigger, yeah, bigger question to answer.
Yeah,
So
that's the
there's,
question. Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
what's the biggest insight? Man, with insight with I mean that's I've had some pretty powerful insights on meditation retreats around like there's nothing wrong with me and that whatever's here is okay to be here. I've created meditations on that. But actually using the timer, I had a this why I'm actually here right now with you all is probably from meditation. It is from meditation. It was in 2023 where I was doing a podcast at the time and I had committed to a month, like it was in May of that year, and I committed to a month of doing hour-long sits every day just to like just felt like okay, I need to just recommit. Not that I wasn't meditating, but just commit to a deeper because I find that and I don't know if you guys experience this, doing a 30-minute or 20-minute sit, not deep enough. 30-minute sit, getting there, I think after 30, that's when it really goes a lot deeper. And so like we're missing the 45, 50-minute insights. And it was this awareness. I kind of saw the whole vision of this podcast. I'm like, there's nothing for meditation teachers around business. And oh, art and business of meditation. I was like, oh, wow, I can bring these two together. And it was this big, like, aha of, whoa, okay, I'm going to totally change the podcast idea and make it the art and business of meditation. And that has carried me in different ways into this kind of different world of mentorship around this and just having amazing conversations. I wouldn't have talked with Sura. I wouldn't have reached out to Sura to be a guest on the podcast, and we wouldn't have had that connection. And so I would say that's a big one, at least that's coming to mind. I'll answer Catherine. I think you're asking if the coaching is valuable for having zero followers and no profile yet. Is that correct? Yeah. So yeah, I've worked with a few people on going from zero to one, and just like sometimes it's overwhelming and to where to start if you don't have microphones or just getting a lay of the land. So yeah, I've totally worked with people both zero to one and people that I've helped someone go from like 400 to 800 followers in like the month that we worked together. And then people that are into like the lower thousands to thousand. Those tend to be like a good space for this type of coaching. Anything else here?
Jessica had a question. She agrees with consistency, but does it have to be once a week to be effective and
Yeah,
successful on Insight Timer?
yeah.
She's got another
So
job.
so Jessica, I share your non-energy center for who can speak human design together. So I get for me it's like bursts, but I I don't think there's a right answer here. Like I always encourage people like, yeah, really tune in. What is it that wants to come through? If there's not anything wanting to come through, like maybe there's something else that's wanting to be created. This shouldn't feel like a slog by any means. But even the one I worked with a projector, and she's the one that I said that she went from like 400 followers to 800 followers, and she was really excited to commit to a weekly live, and she had never done that before, and she found that by committing to a weekly live event, it really moved the needle, and she had so much joy and energy. That was the person I shared her testimonial here at LA. So like I find with human design, like whenever it's limiting us, like to notice, is that limiting? Because for me, I've had time periods where it's like, can consistency be a season for you and trying it? But if it is like a struggle, then it might not be the thing for you. Like maybe it's something, there's a different frame of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd love to discuss that more, Lou, because I think that some of us, because a lot of the people in our community actually have other jobs and they're looking to do this as something
Yes,
aside or something to integrate. And so I would love to talk to you about that. And for me as a business owner, I have actually several businesses. So it's the same for me too. And like the once a week sounds ideal. Like I love that strategy. But for somebody like me who does create courses and trainings, it's not doable because like right now I'm writing a book. Like so to do that on top of writing a book would be too
totally.
much, right? So like I'm just thinking about Jessica. Like if you found something like maybe a 5 minute Instagram live, like the one little thing that's once a week that you can do that you would feel good about, that feels good in your body and good for your energy without feeling like an extra chore and thing that you have to check off, something like that. Lou, do you have thoughts around that? Because I know you have to manage a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the seasons, right? Like Sura, if I've been through seasons where I wasn't going live, I wasn't creating meditations on Insight Timer. Like I've totally been through that. But because you've established in some ways a different, like you're doing other things, and that's okay too. This is when I say consistency for starting, like it's helpful to just have that energy for starting or for wanting to accelerate it a little bit and understand what content's working. So it really just depends on the season and what stage you are and what you're wanting to give to. My friend Darius Bashar, who's also like one of the probably the fastest growing teacher on Insight Timer in the last 5 years. He started in 2020, um, but what I love what he talks about, like some kind of accountability, like using people pleasing to our benefit. The reason why I was consistent with meditation for years and sharing a meditation a week and that's when I was really growing on Insight Timer is because I had a meditation class every Saturday. Like it just that I had a class, and whether I felt like it or not that week, I had to show up to that class and teach meditation. And so having that accountability forced me to create a new meditation every week. And then so that was just like, so if you can create that positive people pleasing accountability for Darius, he runs a community called Artist Morning, where every Friday morning he has to show up. He has hundreds of people come on a Zoom and he has a meditation waiting for them. And he has a system. So he does it all Friday morning. He actually doesn't do it live. It surprises me. He records it, edits it. The group comes in, he shares the recording. He doesn't even share it live with people. It's really interesting how he does that. But he has his system. And that's what I mean, like figuring anything that's starting is going to feel uncomfortable. And so where does this system work for you? How do you habit stack? If you guys read Atomic Habits, like how do you find, where can you tell people, hey, I'm going, maybe it's Instagram Live and you record it and you have like you've done two things, you knocked out two birds in one stone. You commit to an Insight Timer Live weekly for just 15 minutes, and you record that and you just upload your recording. So you're not doing it twice. So it might take some launch energy for sure. Like anything that you're working on is going to take launch energy. Um, and it
Yeah.
should feel good, right? It should feel exciting. If it's a slog, maybe there's something else that's not in meditation or, that's asking to be created for you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lou. We're on time now, so we'll just maybe have one more question here for Lou. Um, does anyone have an extra question? I'm sorry if I'm missing anything in the chat, but you guys know how to get in touch with him. You've got his contact info there. And I just want to thank you guys all for coming, especially Lou for sharing his knowledge and experience. That was so helpful for our community. We'd love to stay in touch with you all. Most of you, I think, did come through MCA as members. So highly encourage membership through MCA to keep going with these learning modules. That is our entire intention with MCA, is to bring coaches together, support you, create community and network and just growth. So please be sure to come through and check out MCA if you haven't yet. And I think we're all set. So Lou, thank you so much. And we'll just close with a heart breath together and go on with the rest of our evening. So wherever you are, you can put your hand on your heart if you like, or just tune in. And breathing into your heart space, allowing yourself to become centered, connected here in your heart with love and just gratitude. Gratitude for the information, for you showing up today and taking it all in so that you can be of service and serve others in the energy of calm and awareness. Just what our world needs now. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Lots of love to you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And Lou, I'll stay on for a moment
Cool.
just to talk about next steps here.